Hello everyone, this is Isabella with Angel Chantress Love. Today we are going to be working on clearing NDEs, near-death experiences, and we're working with Yeshua today. So I am going to be going through some of the experiences that I have had and clearing those energies that relate to you as well as to your ancestry. So when I was about 9 months old, we took a trip to the beach as a family, and there was an energy that overtook my body, and I literally shoved a ton of sand down my throat, and my guides and angels made my parents aware, and they grabbed me and held me up by my ankles upside down and were pounding on my back because I wasn't breathing. So let's clear anything where there's an obstruction. I also had an experience with a friend when I was in my youth, but we were sitting under a grape arbor and kind of throwing grapes back and forth into each other's mouths, and one went down my throat and blocked my airway. And I've had incidences where I've been in the middle of drinking something, walking through a doorway, and a person that had really low vibrational frequency would drop the door on me, and it would cause me to choke. And so anywhere where there's an obstruction of the airway, we're going to clear that now. Okamale o ianala okamale no ikamalala o makamale o iatakanala o alamala o iamalala o kalala ekane ianala nia alamala ia and you're going to notice this, a lot of the near-death experiences, although they can be, you at a crossroad where the divine is not getting through and needs to, and it may cause a near-death experience where you come back with information and messages, and it potentially could also be a turning point for you where you're may have completed enough of the desired outcome that you wanted for this lifetime, the lessons learned, so you get to make that choice in that moment as to whether you want to stay or go. But a lot of these near-death experiences, if you're a light worker on this planet, you've been assigned demonic energies at birth to control and manipulate and block your path, and the lower forces know who you are often much sooner than you even recognize your own gifts and stuff, and they'll start blocking from a very early age before you even know what's going on. They'll see the potential threat in you, and they'll do everything they can to either block you or stop you or completely, eliminate you from the planet. I've been on this Earth plane many, many times, so they've been attacking me and following my progress for a very long time. But it starts very early for most of us. So let's go through, let's see, when I was about 3 years old, I remember being in a house, and I was sitting on the floor in a little dress, and I was kind of squatting down, and I was playing with a toy, and there was a man that was probably 18 or 19 years old, and he came up and tried to touch me sexually, and I started crying because I knew it was inappropriate, and he literally grabbed me and told me that he was going to kill me if I didn't shut up. But someone came into the room at that time and protected me. And this is also a lot of times when we're traumatized like this, there's a shamanic technique that our soul will remember of cloaking our spiritual energy signature. So at this point in time, I actually placed an invisibility cloak over myself and didn't even realize until I was in my 30s when I went to a psychic, and he told me that I had, pretty much turned invisibility into an art form. So I was, passed up for promotions, and I wasn't seen when I was moving through the planet. And I could see this invisible shield around me. I could literally see people bouncing off of it. And some of it was just, divine protection. I would connect with somebody and then they would just be radically removed from my life. And it really isolated me, but it also kept me safe from a lot of these attacking forces as I was learning and developing my gifts and going through my own karmic lessons. So let's go ahead and clear any kind of like sexual trauma that may have occurred, any kind of abuses like that, where there was just inappropriate behavior from another. Akamani ya uai cha kamani ya e no alamala ya e o la halavala vea vea no vialo ai anala e vialo vialala e anola la viano iavala eko ikanala ekavala ikano eavaka ea ianoka eavaka iano Iamala eo echa mika alamala eka ni. Iamaka ana eo noka alamala eka ne. And I'd also like to clear an invisibility cloak for any of you who are ready. You can accept this energy or not, but if the threat has passed and it's no more, then you don't need that invisibility cloak. And through your own divine intention, you can call upon that cloak if you feel it's necessary in any moment. And you can also call for it to be removed as soon as the threat is past and you no longer need it, because you do need to be seen and be visible. You don't want to have problems when you're on the freeway driving, and you don't want to have any issues with your work or anything where people just can't see you. So you don't want to be under that cloak all the time. But if you do feel threatened, or if you're going through a threatening situation, it is a good idea to mask your spiritual energy signatures so they can't tag and track you in the spirit world and send people to harm you. So let's go ahead and remove this cloak for those of you willing at this time. Ichmaka, ichmaka, ichmaka no, ichmaka, ikamoka, akameka no, ielata, enota, enota, eabika, alameka, alameka no, iavaka, eolika, alaleko no. Let's see. When I was young, I'm not sure what age I was, but we had gone to the beach and we were at these sand dunes, and my sister, who was 3 years older than me, and I were walking around this huge kind of grove of trees. And as we came back full circle, I could see these big cougar tracks. And as we kind of walked the original path again a little bit, I could see that this cougar had like literally tracked us all the way around this circle. So let's clear anything where there's any kind of like a threat from an animal that could potentially harm or has harmed you in any way and caused a near-death experience. Akameka ianakao, akamea ianakao, iamaka eko akane, iamaka eka no, alamaka eko ni aka, alamaka eka no, iamaka ana eo no ka, anamana eka no, iamaka ana eo no ka, anamaka ea no. And I'm hearing someone energetically say that this isn't a near-death experience. So anywhere where you're feeling threatened, we are kind of covering it in a more basic manner where it could have potentially been a major issue. But these are just experiences that I've had that could have potentially taken me out. So we're just kind of focusing on not necessarily where your heart has stopped or your brain function or anything, where there's so many different levels of consciousness. So we're just kind of trying to clear things that have been potential threats that are still like in your energy field, traumatizing your energy in some way that may be attracting further threat to you. Okay, so when I was around 8 years old, I was taking swimming lessons, and I had at the time really poor vision. I was very nearsighted. So when it came time for the class to start diving from the diving boards into the 10-foot deep water, I was afraid because I couldn't see more than maybe a couple of inches in front of my face, so I couldn't judge depth well or anything. So the instructor allowed me and one other girl, instead of jumping off the diving board, to jump off of the side of the pool into the water. And that was fine. I didn't have any issues with that until one day they invited the parents to come along and see how their kids were doing in the class. So when it came my turn, I assumed I would be jumping off of the side of the pool like I had done every day in training, but they actually forced me onto the diving board. And because I couldn't see more than, a couple inches in front of my face, it was too scary. So I sat on the end of the diving board and I started crying. And then I could hear the instructor trying to get me to jump into the water, but I was not going. So she came up behind me and I thought she was going to help me off of the diving board, but she picked me up under my arms and dumped me into the water. And as I went down into the water, I had this experience where I actually laid down on the bottom of the pool. And I don't know how long I was there, but I felt like this really powerful pressure on my chest. And I had not experienced this in any of the trainings before, but I couldn't move. It was like there was a hand holding my chest down against the bottom of the pool. And I remember even at that young age thinking, this is it. I'm going to die. I could not move. My whole body was like immobilized under the water. And eventually I heard like slapping at the top of the water, and they had taken this long pole, like a skimmer tool, and they were whacking it onto the water to try and get me to resurface. But I couldn't move. I could hear people, muffled talking, but I couldn't move my body. And then finally I was able to get up and rise to the top, and they pulled me out of the water. And I remember that my mother, who was a very peaceful, quiet, compassionate woman, she was angry. What they did really scared her. And I had never, maybe once or twice in my life, ever seen her angry. So yeah, there was some kind of a force that was like holding me there in place. So let's go ahead and clear anything where there were any dark forces or close calls around water or even drownings in other lifetimes for your family lineage, anywhere where you were immobilized by energies outside of yourself or even immobilized by fear itself. It's a lower vibrational frequency. So let's go ahead and clear any kind of drownings, any near drownings, I'm seeing someone caught in an undercurrent in the ocean, any alternate realities where you passed away because of inhaling the water, or they're giving me hypothermia too. So let's go ahead and clear all of those water related injuries. They're showing me a fishing boat and someone getting hooked on something they're throwing into the water. Their garment becomes hooked on it and they're cast into the sea too, and they're not recovered. So, and they're showing me stormy seas around a huge fishing boat and stuff like that. So anything related to those energies, let's go ahead. They're showing me a helicopter and someone diving from the helicopter into the water. They're showing me a paraglider who's caught in a wind current and gets pushed out to sea instead of on land, and they're too far away and they get hooked. Their parachute gets hooked and they can't get free. So anything related to any of those energies, let's go ahead and clear that for you today. Achmaleya no achmaya o achmaleya no achmaya o ikmalala o na almaleya no ikmalala o na almaleka no almaleo ma ana ama ea o imalala o ma ama ea o itakala ala eko nika alamala eka no iamala ala eo veka alamala vika no. So when I was in my early 20s, I was heading down a coastal road towards the beach, and I was in the left-hand lane, and there was a lane to the right of me, and there was this semi-truck, and it was directly on my side. I was in a small car. It was on my right side. And as I came up the rise of the hill, there was another semi-truck in the oncoming lane. And just as the two of them had me completely boxed in, had my car completely boxed in, I came up on the rise of this hill, and there was this huge, car part right in front of me. And I was going probably about 80 miles an hour, and there was absolutely nowhere to go. I was boxed in. There was this huge part. I was going 80, and there was no way to go. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't stop. And I remember I just cried out for Jesus. And then all of a sudden, I was sitting on the side of the road in my vehicle, completely safe, with no traffic at all on the freeway around me. And in that moment, I had absolutely no idea how I got there and how I was safe. Today, I'm kind of thinking it was where I literally jumped timelines. I was literally whisked into a different timeline to protect me. But yeah, at the time I had no idea. I just knew I was okay. So if you've ever had any kind of an experience like this, where you may have timeline jumped or teleported or whatever, however you want to think about it, when we call out to the divine, and it is not time for us to be leaving the planet, we have not accomplished what we wanted to accomplish yet, we're not ready to go, we will be removed from the situation in some way, shape, or form. So for anyone who's had this kind of supernatural experience, and I would love to hear about it in the comments, what you've experienced yourself, if you're willing to share that information with me, with the collective here. But let's go ahead and clear near impossible situations, you have a feeling that there's no way out. So there's also, gosh, how old was I when I think I was in my early 40s, and I was sitting at a stoplight, and I was in a left turn lane, and there was nowhere for me to go, but I looked up in my rearview mirror, and this woman was coming at me in this car, and she was going fast, she had her foot on the accelerator, but she was unconscious. I don't know if she was on drugs or if she passed out from a medical condition, but her body was literally flopping from side to side in the car, and she was barreling down on me. And there was traffic. I couldn't turn. I was just at a stop. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I cried out for Jesus again. And all of a sudden, the steering wheel turned. I don't know if they caused her to hit it or what, but her car veered off to the right, and there was a McDonald's there, and there were two vehicles coming out of the McDonald's in separate lanes. And she literally drove her car up over the top of the middle of these two vehicles before her car stopped. And it was just terrifying. But somehow, some way, my angels cleared that, and I was safe again. So anywhere where you're experiencing anything like this, let's go ahead and clear these energies out for you. Atamaka eo ia noka atamaka ea o ia mola echa mia echo olamala ekani ia mala eva dio ola dala me ala dala mia eo oa ala via ne ia vakania eko ola akania e Tia la mala eo mia ala mio e. Ia mala eo sia aka ala mala iko e. Ala vala dio io na ala mala io e. Okay. When I was about 37 years old, I lived in this house that was extremely haunted with dark forces. Ghosts and werewolves and demons and there's so much spirit activity in this home, and I was just renting space there. But I had been seeing a lot of werewolf activity in the woods. When I would come home at like 11 o'clock at night, I had to kind of hike through the woods, and this I think I've explained in other videos that werewolves are kind of like henchmen for the demons. They kind of they're like tracking dogs for the demons, and they hunt you down so that you can be targeted by these more powerful forces. And I had been being watched for a while, and there was even someone who was like driving me home part of the time and stuff and getting me back safely. But I decided on this like full moon that I had come across this piece of paper that my guides and angels had given me instructions on how to bind and vanquish demons. I didn't know that's what it was for at the time. They pretty much said it was about ghosts. and I just kind of put the paper away after they told me how to do this work. And then like, I think it was probably about 2 years later that I suddenly ran across this information again in an old box, and I knew it was important, so I had it ready and everything, but they were telling me I needed to bind this demon. It was getting closer to me and I needed to bind it. So I went down to like the creek that was behind the house. Very, very bad feng shui, by the way. You know, don't have a waterway directly behind your house, but you want something solid there for support and foundation. But I went down to this creek and I had these crystals, and I kind of set up the site the night before the full moon. And I was like, I'm going to come down here, at night, and I'm going to take care of this. But earlier in the day, I went down there one more time to check and make sure everything was in place. And I suddenly found myself in the center of like a demon lair. There were all these spider webs. There was this deer that it had not been there. Like literally the day before, this deer had not been there. And this deer was like stripped to the bone. There was nothing left but bones, and they were laid out in this ritualistic pattern. And there were just like hooves that had been severed, and there was this big pile of feces that had like the fur in it. And I was so completely flipped out that I was like, there is no freaking way I'm walking through this to go down to this river, especially in the middle of the night during a full moon. So I went back inside the house and locked the doors. And as the evening got, kept getting later and later, I was literally just fighting with my spirit guides. And I'm like, there is no effing way that I am doing this, and you can't make me, and I'm going to bed. And I went to bed, completely ignoring my guidance, until I think it was around 11 o'clock at night. The whole freaking house started shaking, and the sliding glass doors were rattling, and I leapt out of bed and I could hear my guides just screaming at me, do it now, And so I pulled out this paper and I start doing this ritual, and I can see these like flaming words that say exorcism, and I can see Jesus there, and I get the words black onyx, which I didn't even know that was a gemstone at the time. I just heard the message, and as I did this ritual and I bound this energy up, it started to quiet down. And then when I did the vanquishing ritual that they had taught me, it just became absolutely silent. So it went from just this mass chaos of the house rattling like crazy and all this stuff coming at me to just absolute silence. And so that was like my first experience of actually binding a demon. So if you're having any kind of fear around this, but you've received the guidance, please do listen to it. They do know what's coming for you and what you need to do to take care of it. And their instructions are going to be really clear and precise. So if you're meant to do this kind of work, they will teach you how to do exactly what you need to in order to take care of these things. And I've since bound like literally entire legions of demons since this first experience. So I am very skilled at this work. So if you're in need of assistance, please do reach out to me. You can go to my website at angelchantress.love and book a healing session with me. I've been helping people for quite a few decades with these dark energies and everything, and helping them get clear. So if you are in need of assistance, please do reach out. You're not alone. So let's go ahead and clear any kind of threats like this, any kind of ghost activity which feels threatening, any kind of werewolf or demonic attack energies. Achamaleo ia kanale kanio akameo ota ia mekano akame aikano la akame ani ikamala ekano ma akame ani ikamala ekanava etoitae ikanala eosiala seone Io solameo icho alamekane. Okay, I'm seeing I have a seer guide, Isabella. She presents as a very short female blonde with a really wide face. She has like 3 eyes across the top of her forehead. Her 2 eyes and her 3rd eye are visible. And she guards a stargate that I often travel through. So she's coming through right now, and she's wanting to clear, she's saying, demonic attack across all time, space, dimension, reality, and planes of existence. So you've lived a lot of different lifetimes and a lot of different multiverses. So let's go ahead and shift this more powerfully through her. She's handing me like a whole pile of like star maps that she wants cleared. So let's call on Jesus, and let's call on the Great White Brotherhood to assist in this energy. I'm opening my cross of light, which is a portal that I can open throughout my body. It was gifted to me by Christ in 2004. So let's go ahead and shift all of these old energies for you. Amani aleo anavaeo alavio naleo aneo eo kiamana eo tia io malala eo nalavia eo malaivania na eo alatio atia tioma Eo mikana vali anaio, eo viakane akiona tiakanio, ola iachamala ekani akani akanio, Eoiana eoiachimiakaniakanio Iavaka ekoniakaniakaneo Eotiaka ekoniamaniakanio Iolavaka ekoniamaniitiatano Ala eokaniachi amala eokani ala io Ala meakanio kaniachi amala eokanio Iavanaka eokamiakaniaka akanao Iatiakaniakalieko iachimiakanio. Okay, so what I was seeing as I was chanting was she was tossing the star maps away as the clearing was happening, and the final ones were like burned in angelic fire, and the Great White Brotherhood was like swirling this energy around and clearing it and pushing it through the Cross of Light portal that I had open to help shift these energies, not just in this reality, but in other dimensions as well. Okay, so they're reminding me of a incident where I was driving. I used to work for a company serving developmentally disabled adults, and I was driving this client to their work site in the company vehicle, and all of a sudden it was like my high self stepped out of me and was sitting in the passenger seat beside me, and they were instructing me to slow down because someone was going to cut in front of me. And I automatically like lifted my foot off the gas pedal, but then I was just like, what? that was a really weird thought to have. Why am I thinking that? But sure enough, as I lifted my foot off the pedal, this person came from my right side and they just cut across like multiple lanes of traffic, didn't even look. And had I had my foot on the gas, I would have been directly hit by them, as would my client who was on that side of the vehicle. So even when you get these really strange messages, and spirit messages are always pretty strange. You're not expecting them. They come out of nowhere. The connections they form and the thoughts they give you to take action in certain areas are often very different than what you would expect, So try to tune into those messages and listen in, because they could potentially save your life or the life of another. So even if you're questioning it in the moment, just the guides are saying, do what you're told. But they're laughing. So they recognize not everyone's going to hear the messages and not everyone's going to act on the messages, especially if you're a really intellectual person and you're always questioning everything. You may not act as quickly as you need to. So you might want to kind of drop a little bit of that energy and just try and tune in a little bit more. They are trying to help you. They will repeat messages, but sometimes things happen quickly and they don't always have the chance to completely protect because it's so unexpected. And they're reminding me of small accidents and little falls and stuff that I had that they would have prevented had it not happened so fast. They can feel the intentions of those around you, but sometimes they act so quickly on those intentions that they can't always fully protect you. So, and that's not to say they aren't protecting you, because a fender bender could have been a fatal accident and you aren't even aware of the protection that went in, and maybe they couldn't stop the car completely in time, but maybe you did have to, get some repairs done or something like that. They're reminding me of a incident where I was on my way to this work site, and I was sandwiched in between two vehicles, and I got rear-ended and pushed into the vehicle in front of me and everything. And when the police came, I noticed the police report had the guy who hit me from behind, they had his middle name listed as Archangel, which was like, okay, that's bizarre. But yeah, your angels are present and they are watching you and they are trying to keep you safe. Also, when I was on my way to the same work site where I was getting attacked by a lot of hate crimes from the corporate management who had done a lot to silence me in other lifetimes due to my spiritual gifts. And they weren't allowed to take me out in this lifetime like they had in many other previous lifetimes. But they did try to get me, out the door. And they did send a lot of people at me that were targeting me and slandering and bad mouthing. And even the county investigator is like, can I come sit with you for a day? Because I don't understand what's going on here. He's like, the clients love you, the families love you, the county case manager raves about you. He's like, what is going on? What are all these reports and all this stuff? And I'm like, yeah, So, let's clear anything where there's like targeted hate crimes and, anything where, they're trying to like prevent you energetically from getting to the place where you're supposed to be working because you've triggered their demons and they're sending everything they've got at you. I had another incident where I was like trying to get to work and somebody swerved and slammed on their brakes so fast in front of me. I had to hit my brakes hard and turn, and my vehicle was like barely like able to move afterwards. And I was like, oh my God. And I didn't get hit that time, but just be, aware that, I don't believe in accidents. I believe like there are not only intentional hits, but there are people who are out of alignment. And if you don't want to participate in their energy because they're out of alignment, you need to really secure your own, and you need to be very balanced and very grounded, and you need to heal all of these old triggers and wounds within yourself, because that's how all these lower vibrational frequencies get in, is they activate your wounds, either emotionally, mentally, physically. They will use that to infect your energy field. And it is an infection. Anything that is toxic to your energetic field is like a disease, a sickness, in your energy field, and it needs to be removed. And you need to do daily practices on purging and cleansing your energy, especially if you're interacting with a lot of people. So let's go ahead and clear any of these kind of near misses. They're showing me where I was in a parking lot and just walking by, and somebody suddenly like gunned their car and tried to back into me. There's like so many times. So really pay attention if you feel like you're being targeted. You probably are. What's that saying? It's not paranoia if they're really out to get you. And if you're a light worker, they're trying to, save themselves and clear you out of their way. So let's go ahead and clear like vehicular issues and stuff. They're reminding me of a time when my daughter was, I don't know, probably 9 or 10 years old, and she wanted to go and she wanted to go ride her scooter with a girlfriend that lived in the same area. And I just had this weird feeling that she was going to get hit by a vehicle. And I told her the only way you're going out there is if you promise me you're going to stay on the sidewalks. And then I was like, how is she going to do that? Because her handlebar had broken the day before. And she's like, oh, I'm just going to, use my friend's scooter. And after I told her she had to stay on the sidewalks because I'd had that weird feeling about the vehicle hitting her, her friend that she was talking about called us on the phone and said that she had just gotten hit by a vehicle riding her scooter. And it was a soft bump, but it was enough to kind of wake us both up. And everything. So anything involving any kind of vehicular stuff, or actually I'm seeing like a plane crash and somebody going overboard on a boat and stuff. So any kind of, let's say, transportation. Achmalea ia neka akamea o achamaka ea ia noka ana meka ni achamaka ea oa ea ia lana ne achmalea ia lana ea niolo achmala ola ala vea iva aka no ifa aka ana ea voka ava eka no Iavaka ana eo mika ama nika o. Iamaka mika ala veka ika neka de. Ala valadea ia dola ala nia ke. Ala kalea ika nea acha mea me. Iamalea o amala eo ziae. Okay, they are showing me a scene from, let's see, I was in my early 50s and I was feeling the need for guidance on a particular relationship and business and everything that I wanted to do. And so I found this like channeling session that was going on, but it was about an hour drive away. My daughter was going to go with me to this, but it's like I was trying to find out information about a person that was supposed to come through and help me build this business. And unbeknownst to me at the time, they had turned away a long time ago, but I just thought we hadn't met yet. So, and they had been siphoning my energy and living off of my energy for a long time. And I was just holding space for them, thinking they were going to come through and help. But I wasn't aware of this at this time. I was still under this like illusory energy that they had projected over me. And so as we were trying to get to this channeling session to find out about this person who didn't want to be found out, there were all these like delays and road detours, and like the detour signs were like not correct, and we had to keep trying to figure out how the heck to get there because the roads weren't correct that we were being redirected to, and luckily we had left early but there were all these problems just getting there and then finding the place and the parking and everything. We finally get in there and there's like one other lady and the guy taking the money at the door and the people who are doing the channeling, you know. And so it was like I was the main person there that was asking questions. And so I was trying to figure out what was going on with this person and with this business because I had been working on it for a very long time on my own with no outside help. And they pretty much told me that I wasn't going to like the answer, you know, and they didn't fully answer the question. I had to kind of unravel that myself. And there were some questions I probably should have asked that I didn't in hindsight. But I did get some information and it did get the wheels turning on there being something very off about this energy and everything for me. So as we get back in our vehicle to leave this channeling session, we're driving back on these, you know, it's dark and these back country roads. And I'm going pretty fast, probably about 55. And all of a sudden, I look up and I see this stop sign. And I realize in that split second that there is an actual blinking red light there, but it's gone out, or it's been put out, I should say. So I'm going 55 miles an hour. The blinking red light is not going. And all of a sudden, here's the stop sign. So I slam on my brakes because there's cross traffic that doesn't stop. And they're going like 55, 60 miles an hour. And I literally stopped like 3 inches from a head-on collision with, a side collision for them, head-on for me, with this other vehicle. And I kind of turned onto the road they were going on because I hadn't fully stopped, but I had gotten close enough to a stop that I was able to slowly turn onto the road and reroute myself. But because we were so incredibly dialed in from being in that channeling session, and because the guides and angels knew that this attack was going to come, this light was going to be out, that this person did not want me to find out what they were doing in the background and had been doing for about 20 years against me. They tried in that moment to like take us out, but we were so completely calm. And I remember looking at my kid and just going, "Are you okay? Because I feel all right." And they're like, yeah. We were just like totally calm because the angels and the spirit guides had just so protected and infused us with this energy before we even got there. But yeah, that was a really, really powerful first attempt, I think, at taking out my life when I started ascending and figuring out what this person was doing, because this person was really dark in another life and had done all these love spells and illusory spells and glamour spells over themselves and all this stuff, where I was like a high priestess and they were a king. And if you want to know the full extent of that story, you can listen to the video on the breaking the twin flame, false twin dynamic, because there's more information about that occurrence there. But yeah, on the way home, we just almost got taken out by that energy. And then this same person, as I began ascending, they had very strong mental, psychic abilities, telepathy. And so they could hear my thoughts, I could hear them. And as I began ascending, they had not done any of their healing work. They had wounding, childhood wounding, and that was pretty severe, and they weren't willing to look at it. So they had been using and abusing people for a very long time in their own life. And I think from the experiences I had, they were probably like a coke addict and everything else, and had taken a lot from a lot of people. The story goes on for a very long time, so I'm not going to go over it now. But yeah, this person just really began attacking me like crazy. I could hear their thoughts going, "Don't leave me." And I'd be walking through a portal, looking over my shoulder into this dark void and going, "Are you coming with me? Are you coming? Hello?" I'm going through this portal, and I just kept ascending and kept getting attacked over and over and over again. And there were like death spells, and graveyard dirt would appear inside my home and over things that I was trying to protect. And it was files would get corrupted that I was trying to channel, and those were the things that the graveyard dirt would appear over: business, electronic stuff, and water and everything. And I had to re-record those protection spells. And so anywhere where you are in a soul contract with somebody and that person is not honoring that contract, and they are not growing and they are not ascending with you, and you need to let that contract go, I'm going to open up my key decoder that was placed in my right palm by Christ. I want to say back in 2012. I'm not sure. It helps me to unlock and break seals on contracts and other things as well, open gateways and stuff. So let's go ahead and open that up. And with the blood of Christ, we are commanding that any soul contracts which are no longer serving your highest and greatest good be brought forward and the seals broken and your name be extracted from that contract. So you are no longer under any obligation to these people, these beings, these And it may be your ancestral lineage that agreed to this. Let's break any generational curses in your family line where they signed the contract energetically by choosing lower vibrational frequencies and making poor choices that have trapped your ancestors as well as you, because everything your ancestors did, it's in your DNA if it didn't get resolved yet. And this is the reason why we are so heavily burdened at this point, is because a lot of this stuff just has not been cleared. And a lot of us are coming in as generational curse breakers to remove these energies now. So let's go ahead and clear everything we can here for you to help you break through these contracts and potentially bring in new contracts if you're still wanting to fulfill certain roles or businesses or experiences in your own life where you need those higher vibrational frequencies to come through and sign contracts with you. Let's start negotiating that in the spirit world with your guides and ascended ancestors. Achmaleya iya no ka alamaleka no Iamaka ana eo vika alamaleka ne Iamaka ana eo nika alamaleko ti Iamaka ana eo no ka alavaleka ve Alavaleka eko nika alamaleko e Iamaka ana eo niko alamaleka ne Achmaleo ia nova alamaleo e Iamalalaeo ma alamaleo e. So these demonic energies, they can cause vehicle malfunctions, which can be life-threatening or cause injury. They can cause illness, sometimes life-threatening illness, or illness that's just meant to keep you from sources of income. Maybe you need to get to work, but you're sick and, you pass it on to your kids, and then your kids are sick and you got to stay home for them, and they pass it back to you or your spouse, and, and it's just causing all sorts of problems. They can cause income loss, job loss, prevent you from getting to work because of vehicle malfunctions or whatever, or prevent you from being seen by clients who could help you, or they can put you into a state of doubt and fear through the people around you, speaking word curses over you that trigger old wounds in you. So then maybe an opportunity comes up and you pass the opportunity because you're afraid that this person's going to hurt you or betray you, or it's not a real deal. Maybe it's a scam, So all of these energies can come through. They can cut off your communications. They can isolate you, get you to give up, things that are important to you with promises that are, fake, that they're not actually going to come through on for you. Oh, just, move to this city with me, and then we'll look into, we'll get you all stabilized, and then we'll get you, we'll start working on your projects. And anybody who's trying to take you off your path, get you to move where you don't feel you're supposed to move to, get you to do things you don't want to do, get you to work for them and do their work instead of doing the work you came to do. Anybody who is misdirecting your path, walk away. If they're not there for you, as far as I'm concerned, I have a certain place that I need to be. I have a certain role I need to play. I have things that I want to accomplish. And if somebody wants to join me in my journey, they're going to need to go the direction I'm going, not get me to try and go their direction because they've made up some fantasy life with me in it. It's like, sorry, that's not my plan. That's your plan. You didn't even ask me what my plan was to see if we were even a fit, whether it be romantically or whether it be business-wise or whatever. You need to communicate with people. You can't just assume because you've made stuff up in your head that they're going to go along with it. So a lot of these energies are just sent in to distract you or take you away, or it may even be a well-intentioned person that just hasn't thought things through or communicated appropriately. But a lot of these are misdirections. So don't give up on what you want for anybody else. Anybody who truly cares about you and who truly wants the best for you is going to wish you well, whether you're in their life or not. If they are happy people, good people, well-intentioned people, they are going to enjoy you for as long as they've got you in their life, and they're going to wish you well on your path, and they're going to support you any way that they can, but they're not going to control you. They're not going to manipulate you. They're not going to BS you into doing something that doesn't feel in alignment to you. So stand your ground. Keep going the direction that you feel guided to go in. People should be connecting to source energy first and foremost, connecting with their own path, and then inviting others in who feel in resonance with them. So let's clear any of these energies that are trying to throw you off beat here. Akamaleya iya voka ata meka ni, akamaleya vika noka ala meka ne, akamana eya ika niya akamona a, akamana ana eo nika ala tika ne, ikmala ala eso moka asa mika ne, ismaka ana eo ova ava iva e, Ivana ana eo vola ala veo e, ikmana ia ala echo icha maka e, ikmala eo ona ea ana mio ne, ikavala ika eka nika ala eko te, ikanala eka tia aka neo ika ne, ikamana ana eo ona ana meo ne. Okay, so one of the things that the guides are showing me right now is that these energies are going to enter any low vibrational people that are in your vicinity, or people that are close to you who are experiencing any kind of issues that are bringing them into a lower vibrational state. They're often going to target people that are close to you to get through to you. So how I like to describe it is like you're in your house and your spiritual house, and you wake up finally and all of these beings are in your house. Think of it as like a wild party going on inside your space. And so it's out of control. And so you call in the police, or in this case, like Jesus or somebody, your angels, and you have all these people hauled out of your space, all these entities and energies. And you start closing the doors and the windows, and you start locking the doors. And so you're finally clear, you're finally safe. But these energies, they're still circling your house. And they're always, always, always watching for an opening to get through. So if they can't directly target you anymore because you've done your shadow work, you've healed your wounds, they don't have anything to attach their energy to because they can't trigger you and lower your energy vibration and get you angry and frustrated and crying and fearful and all of those things they try to do to, stress you out, make up stories about how, maybe there's a layoff at work and you're worried now that you're going to lose your income, or maybe, somebody said something about you and it wasn't true, but people are starting to believe something, and maybe that'll cause problems in your friendships, or, they try and get you to get all stressed out and freaked out and everything so that they can reopen those wounds and, grab hold of your energy and siphon you, because if you're a light worker, you are a power source of God, and you're just like delicious to them. They want to like come on in and just, get in there and take everything they can. So the way that they'll do this, oftentimes if they can't target you directly anymore because you have healed a lot, is they'll target somebody that you care about. So they'll look at all your connections and they'll be like, oh, Isabella is friends with Susie Q over here, and Susie Q is a real drama queen because she's unhealed. Even though Isabella finds her adorable, she's pretty unhealed there. So Susie Q kind of, gets messed with there. They'll go and they'll target her, and then she'll come and she'll bang on the door and go, Isabella, let me in. My life's falling apart. My boyfriend left me. I'm pregnant. Whatever. And she's crying and she's on welfare and she's freaking out and she's about to lose her apartment. And so, you've got to make that choice. And you're the only one who can. Are you going to open the door to Susie Q and all of her entity attachments and all the demons that come with her and let them into your space? Or are you going to stand on the other side of the door and go, you know, Susie, I'm not feeling it today. I really care about you. I'm going to pray for you. I'm sending you good vibes, whatever you want to tell her. You have got to start becoming unavailable to these outside influences. Susie Q has the absolute ability, just as you do, to heal her wounds, to get over her need for acceptance from others, to get over her trauma bonds, and she has the same ability that you do to heal. And if she is still not awake or just isn't choosing to heal, I mean, you can encourage her, coach her to resolve these things. But if she's not willing to do the work, there is nothing you can do to fix this. And you have to recognize and you have to step away and you have to protect your own energy, because you don't help Susie Q by wallowing in the mud with her. You don't help her by giving her all your money so that you're both broke. You don't help her by sitting next to her on the couch when she's sick and making yourself sick. None of this helps either of you. You cannot serve her if you cannot stand in your power. So stand in your power and expect her to step up to the plate and do the work and hold your ground, because you're holding space. This is what our spirit guides do for us. They look at us, they see us, you know, rolling around on the floor, having a tantrum, getting crazy, getting angry, getting stressed. And they don't, you know, drag themselves down to that level. They look at what you want to create, how you want to feel better, how you want your business to thrive, how you want to have a clean living space, how you want to have all the food you need to eat, all the gas you need in your car, all the work that you desire to do. The second you think those thoughts, they hold that space for you so that you can ascend, heal your wounds, and rise to the occasion. And that is what they are doing for you. And that is how you can best serve the people around you. And sometimes that means walking away. And sometimes it's when we truly, deeply love somebody and we hurt them so badly that they leave, that's when we realize, oh, hey, I've got serious abandonment wounds. And finally, somebody effed me over like I effed them over. And I don't like it, and I don't like how it feels, and it feels terrible, and I feel rotten, and I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life. And now you've got somebody who goes, okay, I need to fix this. I need to heal this. This is my problem. This is my wound. And it sometimes takes losing somebody you truly do care about, even though you didn't show it, to recognize and grow at a soul level. And that is what we are here to do. So, you know, you may never have a chance with that person again. And if they're smart, they're not going to let you back in, because they're going to know, yeah, I went through all that and it took me, 20, 30 years to heal. So I can't sit here for another 20, 30 years waiting for you to get through all your crap so that you can reach the level I'm now at. So sometimes they just have to witness that release and witness you expanding and growing and ascending. And sometimes that is just their karma. But that doesn't mean you can't come together in other lifetimes and other timelines and other realities. It just means that they're at a different level that you're at in the moment, and that's okay. It's not bad. It's not a punishment, but our karma comes through as a cause and effect. If you treat someone poorly and you expect them to respect you, that's not going to happen. You have to respect yourself and you have to respect others so that the universe can reflect that energy back onto you. So you've got to do the work. And the only way that people learn and grow is through multiple falls and failures. And the guides are watching you like you're a child learning to walk. And they know that even though you're frustrated and you're mad and you're maybe even a little bit hurt because you fell down 10 times, they know you're going to learn to stand. They know you're going to learn to walk. They know you're going to learn how to overcome the challenge. So they're not worried about it like you are. And you can surrender that worry and you can surrender that care at the feet of Jesus, and you can, take that yoke off of your shoulders. You don't have to carry that burden alone. But people who are just now shifting, when you've already done a lot of the shifting yourself and the ascension work yourself, are not going to be at that same level, and they will pull you down. So for the benefit of yourself and for the benefit of everyone you came to serve, you have got to hold your ground. You have got to hold your space, and you cannot go back to the past. These people who didn't recognize your value, they didn't recognize your worth, they sent attacks at you, they allowed themselves to be used by dark forces to come at you. They are unhealed and they need to do the work. There are so many people out there trying to destiny swap and, I don't want to do anything and I don't want to heal, but I want that. I want what that person has. And God looks at them and goes, okay, you can have everything that person has, but I'm going to take you through everything that person went through to get to where they're at right now. Because that is the challenge, that is the work, that is what you came to do. And if you're unwilling to do it, then you're not going to get those things. And you're sure as heck not going to get them from stealing them from somebody. All you're going to get is all of the karma that you're reaping for yourself by being that low vibrational person. And I'm not necessarily talking to the light workers who are out here today. There are a lot of karmics and people who have attacked who are viewing this channel right now. And this is a message to you. If you are karmic, you need to grow up and you need to do the freaking work, because that's what all of us have done. That's what the light workers have done. And we have attained the gifts that we have to help others through multiple lifetimes. And we're bringing all these gifts through now, and we're overcoming all the persecutions and the challenges of the past times. And we're doing it under full-on demonic force attack. And then you get a little bit of your energy back because you've been all karmic and attacking and hurting everybody around you, bleeding on all the people who didn't create those wounds for you because you're unwilling to heal. And you're whining like a baby, trying to get everybody to help you and being a victim. But who helped us? Nobody. And we were under severe attack from multiple sources simultaneously. And we overcame it, and you can too. So get off your butt and do the work. Okay, I'm done. But if you are experiencing targeted attacks, I can assist you. If you want to come on to my website, angelchantress.love, and book a private healing session with me, let's get you free from these attacks, the generational curses in your lineage, and any old traumas that are coming up for release. The way you clear these energies is through facing your shadow self and healing these wounds. And this is what's going to prevent these attacks from coming back and siphoning your energy. And this is why they fear your ascension, because they know they aren't willing to do the work. And they know they need you. But you're not alone in this. God, your angels, your spirit support team, your galactic guides, they're here to assist you. But they require your willing participation to come forward for you. So let's work together so you can reach your divine potential. I'm sending you so much love and so many blessings.